You are now listening to WSN Wolf Sports Network.
It's season 3 of Sports Outta Pocket.
But to be the man, you gotta beat the man. That's a W. How many people want to eat a W tonight?
We bring you the craziest controversies.
We got Tyreek Hill, who's fined $7,000
for not wearing socks. That is the dumbest fine I've ever seen in my life, dude.
Fire me up.
And I have to go at this Braves offense for not doing a thing in October for the second year in a row.
And the return of twin picks.
That's not even in discussion.
I think what you should do is shut up and let the judges speak. Interviews you don't want to miss.
This is the Philly sports guy, and you're listening to Sports Outta Pocket.
This is former MLB All-Star Justin Masterson.
Sports Outta Pocket is back and better than ever.
Let's go!
Welcome in, everybody, to another edition of Sports Outta Pocket. I am your host, Stephen Lambert. I am joined by the best twins in sports radio, Chase and Andrew Jefferson, and the man behind the board who is so excited about Saquon Barkley, Mr. Jackson Vols.
Traitor.
Hey, I'm excited about Saquon.
Well, of course you are.
I think we paid him too much, but we'll...
Hey, you want to talk about paying somebody too much? We're going to talk about that later with Mr. Kirk Cousins in the ATL.
He got the bag.
His agent just needs like so much credit right now because he getting that big of a contract is actually insane.
Don't you mean Captain Kirk?
Captain Kirk, baby. In
Hey,
the ATL.
go view our latest reel on Wolf Sports Network on Instagram.
Now, don't get me wrong. I don't feel this way about like some Atlanta fans that just hate this deal overall. I actually love Kirk Cousins in the ATL.
How can you hate it, man? It makes sense.
Yeah, I do. But we're gonna get into that later. But with that, all that, you want to talk about what happened, Andrew, this past weekend with Mr. Oh, you know what I'm talking about, buddy.
I thought you were going to UWG.
Let's talk about that actually. Let's go ahead and get that in there. We can get into that later.
Yeah, Sports Outta Pocket. You know, they took the trip down to Birmingham, Alabama.
Both games.
Samford University. We went to the semifinals. Saw us take down West Alabama. Then the entire Wolf Sports Network crew came down on Sunday.
Minus Stephen,
unfortunately.
He had to be an 80%er.
We miss you, Steven.
To watch us defeat Alabama Huntsville once again, we got to witness Zoddy, Cameron, Cole, and Amari all cut down the nets. We got to go on the court, take pictures with the trophy, man. It was a beautiful time.
Cole Fisher's grandma is so nice.
Yeah. They're going to throw that in there. Yeah, that's great.
Shout out to Cole
Y'all got
Fisher's
to take a trip to Buc-ee's.
We did. Found the reel there, too.
That's
Be
also
on the lookout for that.
Really cool. And listen, shout out to the basketball team because here's the thing. I lost my voice for y'all on Saturday, so y'all were able to pull out the win. Zoddy Jackson took over.
My voice was toast.
It was done, dude. I had a headache. My voice was gone. It was just a whole thing.
It was a great time, and congratulations to the UWG basketball team.
Absolutely.
Huge accomplishment.
Best of luck in the tournament.
But yes, it was an amazing event that we witnessed. I mean, the basketball game, it was incredible. We had such a great time. But you know what we're going to have such a better time at?
What's that?
What is
that would be Wolfstock 2024. I said 2020 way too many times. Wolfstock 2024. Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen, for the hottest concert that ever hit West Georgia to make its return? Wolf Radio and Wolf Sports Network has got you covered with Wolfstock 2024. Unleash the wolf from within. On Thursday, April 4th, 2024. At 6 to 9 p.m., there will be live music. There will be food. There will be games and more in the Campus Center Ballroom. Don't miss out on UWG's own finest performers. Dark Souls Thug, Jay Pruitt, Kamal Saucier, Collar, Lumina, and XO.
Wait, really?
Unbelievable lineup, ladies and gentlemen. It is going to be such an amazing time. You're not going to want to miss a single second of it. Please. Come in and have some fun. Wolfstock 2024 is brought to you by Dine West, Housing and Residence Life, Center for Student Involvement and Inclusion, American Pie Pizzeria, and Illuminated Productions, plus Osier Apparel. Let's get into the show, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
We in here talking about practice.
It's time for the latest sports controversies.
All right, I have to get my thing pulled up here. So before I get into what I have to talk about, would one of you like to bring up your...
I would love to start, stepdad Steven. We got...
Okay. That's never been mentioned on the air before.
We're going to start with some NFL because it's been a busy week in the league, man. Specifically, like we mentioned before, Jackson's now Philadelphia Eagles Saquon Barkley. Now, when he did make the transition from New York to Philadelphia, Former Giants running back Tiki Barber said on local New York sports radio station W Fan, he said this, and he quotes, "You're dead to us, Saquon. Good luck. You're dead to me." Now, and I understand this from two different aspects, okay? But it's important to know that after that the quote kind of circulated around social media and Saquon Barkley actually got a hold of it, he took it to X or Twitter, I'm going to call it Twitter, and made a post in response to what Tiki Barber said. And this was Saquon's response. "You're the prime example of loyalty to a team. I got the deal I wanted, secured more guaranteed money, which wasn't given to me before. So if fans are going to hate me for that, so be it. But I never turned my back on my teammates and always had theirs." Now, here's the thing that I think. This is how I go about it. Yes, Saquon Barkley said, this is a problem to me. 9 months ago, Saquon said when he spoke to an ESPN Giants reporter that he wants to be a Giant for life and doesn't want to reset the running back market. And I think that's why fans are so mad at him, because here's the thing. Sports are always changing. You see this all the time. Yes, 9 months ago, Saquon Barkley probably did want to be a Giant for life, but they weren't giving him the money that he deserved. He was always significantly overpaid. But when you say something like that, especially to a Giants reporter who works on ESPN, fans are going to get their hopes up. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, Saquon wants to ride or die with us. But then once Saquon gets the bag that he deserves, of course he's going to get out there. Who cares if it's to the Eagles? This is like another Brett Favre situation when he went to the Vikings. So I think Saquon kind of made this worse for himself when he said that.
We've seen a few players go to their rival teams this free agency.
Aaron Jones to the Vikings.
Aaron Jones to the Vikings. Saquon to the Eagles, and I'm forgetting one.
Queen to the Steelers.
Oh yeah, Queen to the Steelers. That's what I was thinking of. But we'll get onto that a little bit later in our lottery segment. But me personally, I don't see the problem with it.
I have something to say about it. I actually kind of see it as a Kevin Durant going to Golden State situation, because when you join a team, when you're drafted to a team and you become a big part of it like Saquon was, you're not only adopting the team, you're adopting the fan base and you're adopting the culture. And part of New York culture is hating the Philadelphia Eagles. Everybody up there in New York or New Jersey, I guess, 100%. Hates the Philadelphia Eagles. So when you become as big as a factor to that team like Saquon was, you're adopted to that same culture. So it's not the fact that he left. It's not the fact that he got the money. It's just that he had the morality to go to Philadelphia. Now what Tiki Barber said.
He said not daddy. He said, I heard it too.
Hey, to some of the New Yorkers, Saquon was daddy.
Chase. A lot of other NFL fans call us classless, kind of like the Alabama Huntsville guy. Shout out to him, you know.
Yeah, classless. By cheering.
In case you do know what he's talking about, Alabama Huntsville's radio crew said that the fans of UWG were being classless at the game.
Bunch of old heads just getting out of their whatever.
Look, we were getting excited. Okay, that's controversy. So that's controversial. So it's perfect.
Sorry we hurt your feelings.
Yeah, go cry me a river.
Boo-hoo, cry me a river.
But yes, Chase, I do see your point. And at least it wasn't as bad as what Kyrie did when he told a group of kids that he was going to stay in Boston and then weeks later sign with the Nets.
That's what I'm saying.
At least he didn't lie to a bunch of little kids.
As an athlete,
little Timmies.
And look where that led us. Kemba, we're fine. We're fine.
As an athlete, you got to be careful about what you say. If you're going to make a guarantee, if you're going to make a promise to these fans, they're going to hold you to it. You better not turn your back. Steven, what do you have?
Oh, man, we only got 1 minute. All right, so I got to do this quickly.
Let's go.
I'm not even going to just get into verbatim everything that I have to talk about. I just wanted to talk to you guys about the ACC championship in women's college basketball with LSU versus South Carolina.
You said ACC. SEC.
I said SEC.
Oh.
I said SEC.
Sorry, go.
We're missing our words today, gentlemen. Come on. Open your ears. Basically, there was a brawl. And at the end of the game, basically the brawl was so bad that both benches actually got ejected. And LSU had to finish the game with only 5 players.
The entire bench?
The entire bench, both benches. Only 2 South Carolina players were left.
Yep.
Like I said, I was rolling through the article. Like LSU only had to finish with 5 players, and South Carolina finished with 7.
Yeah.
They only had 2 players on their bench with 2 minutes left in the game. South Carolina remains undefeated. They won the SEC championship, so they're going in. But it was just an insane game. Basically, it started off with a steal. An LSU player tried to steal it from South Carolina, and basically it just got worse from there. I think it was I don't know how to pronounce her name. Johnson, the guard.
Florida Johnson.
Yeah, the guard. She felt some type of way and basically just like pushed the South Carolina player, and then it just got worse from there. Like
her brother got charged with like assault too.
There was apparently fans that were jumping over the table and getting involved
So
with
it
it
runs
as
in the
well.
family, I guess.
It was
It's crazy.
It was Camila Cardoso. She was a player a South Carolina player that got in a fight. I think she's suspended for the first game in the NCAA tourney.
Wow.
Yeah, I tell you what, if y'all just like go look up that whole 10-minute fight, it's actually insane. And
I will during the break.
Yeah, I will. Speaking of that, we actually have an interview today, ladies and gentlemen, with a Mr. Josh Martinez. Now, Josh Martinez is a radio host in New York. He hosts what is it, Hot 97?
Z100.
Z100. And we had a great interview with him. It's a two-part, so this is the first part of the interview where we just talk about everything from his career in radio
to wrestling.
Yeah, listen, y'all know me. I'm a big wrestling fan, so we talked about that a lot. So, ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy our interview with Mr. Josh Martinez.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for taking time to speak with us at the IBS Media Conference as well, because what you do now is what we want to do for the sports side, and you gave us some great advice on what it's like to be in the radio business and your journey through that. But my first question is, I know you've been part of radio stations in Iowa and Ohio. I wanted to know, what was the atmosphere like when you arrived in New York, and what were some major differences when it came to radio between the Midwest and the Big Apple?
I'm born and raised in New York City, so I brought a New York City swagger, style, and energy to the Midwest that they may not have been used to, and then I also wasn't used to their kind of more. Not when I say conservative, I don't mean politically conservative. I mean laid back conservative lifestyle and approach. So that was interesting to say the least. Iowa was far more interesting. Excuse me, than Ohio was. Ohio, living in Dayton and Cincinnati, they were definitely more, for lack of a better term, cool than Des Moines, Iowa was. And Cedar Rapids, I hated my time there, to be very honest and blunt. Cedar Rapids is exactly what you would think of, which is nothing. But Des Moines was fun, and Dayton and Cincinnati was great. I mean, this is the most comfortable I've ever felt on air, because I'm born and raised in New York City. I speak the same way regular New Yorkers do. I have my accent. I say lingo that everybody knows. I don't have to worry about them questioning what the hell am I talking about when I say dead ass, or if I go here or something like that. Like, everybody knows what that means here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Down here in Georgia, well, I've only been down here in Georgia for like 2 years, but I don't know any lingo from down here. Do y'all know?
It's a lot different than the lingo they use in New York. That's for sure.
We have like the southern lingo, just like dadgummit or like some crazy stuff like that.
Gosh darn it.
Oh, I will say, when I was in Iowa, I learned saying bless your heart is actually calling you a
It is. Hey, Jackson, bless your heart, man.
Bless your heart.
Hey, that's southern lingo right there.
That is crazy.
Hey, this is since you did spend some time in Ohio, I'm just very curious about this. Did you ever try Skyline chili while you were up there?
Ooh.
You know what? I'm going to be honest, and because I'm no longer on air in Ohio, I could actually say this and not worry about any backlash.
Go and say it. Go and say it.
I never tried it. It was never appealing to me. The idea of spaghetti and this thing called chili that barely had any flavor to it. They would bring like chili dogs and skylines to the radio station all the time, and I always passed up on it because it did not look appealing. The one time I tried the actual chili itself, I didn't think it was flavorful, but I'm also just not a chili guy in general.
Well, let me tell you, you dodged a bullet, buddy.
Hey, down here in the South,
I was a quote unquote celebrity guest judge for a chili cook-off when I was in Ohio. And I was like, I'm the best judge for this because I think all chili kind of sucks, right? And in order to get really good chili, you got to make it spicy.
Okay, that's
and
fair.
Personally, I think, this is just my opinion, I am soft, like bake sales, when it comes to spice. I don't like any sort of spice. I'm good on it. So if you had really good chili because it was spicy, I didn't like it. So, hey, maybe the more I hated it, the more I voted you higher.
Hey, I love me some chili, but I can say it since I'm down here in the South, I won't touch Skyline chili with a 10-foot pole.
That's crazy.
I can't say I blame you, brother. I can't say I blame you.
All right, well, I guess we'll
right.
keep it rolling with our second question. So this is Andrew speaking to you now, and of course, Jackson and I had the pleasure to attend the An Audience with Z100 panel in New York. And during that panel, you touched on how you dropped out of community college and you were attempting to pursue a drama major at first. But once you dropped out, you experienced a lot of obstacles during your journey to one of the most prominent radio shows in America. And by doing that, you created a path for yourself. And in order to pursue your dream, of course, you got to be willing to take a leap of faith and captivate an internship at a night show. And during that internship, of course, you had to network as much as possible in order to build up your image and learn the complex material in the radio business. So my question to you is, what was the most difficult moment in your road to the show, so to speak, in which you had to overcome a lot of adversity?
The adversity came from being alone. You know, at the age that I was alone in Cedar and Des Moines, you know, that was what I was 22, 23-ish or whatever, in Des Moines, Iowa. And, you know, you're not used to being alone at that time of your life. You still got your buddies around. You still got people that you meet up with to watch a game, you know, or you're going to games because you're not really taking life too serious yet at that age, right? Even though you graduated from college, you're still doing things that you thoroughly enjoy. I didn't have any friends in Des Moines. I didn't do it. I went to Des Moines. Fun fact, I took the job interview and accepted the job in Des Moines thinking it was like an SEC country.
Oh, okay.
I was wrong, dog. Have you ever felt negative 40 degrees in your life? I have. I thought Iowa, man, they don't teach us geography in New York City public schools. I thought Iowa was between like Alabama and Texas, just somewhere in between there. And I was way off. But that, I would say that would be the hardest thing, you know. On one hand, and I'll use you guys as an example. The people that are closest to you know that you guys want to be sports radio hosts, right? I would say that that's correct.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. So the people that know you the best know that you're busting your ass. You're trying to do everything that you can, hopefully, to get that opportunity. Now, if they find out that you got a full-time radio gig in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, let's just say, they're going to gas you up and hype you up to be to make you think that you're Ryan Seacrest, to make you think that you're Stephen A. Smith, because they're so excited for you. They're so proud of you. You're full-time in the career that you want. This is exciting. We're your biggest fans. But then when you get to Oshkosh, you realize you're at the bottom of the totem pole. You are quite literally the new guy. You don't know anybody. The sales team doesn't care about you because they don't know you, so they're not trying to sell you. Your social pipeline doesn't even exist. So there's you know, one side of my life is hyping me up. The other side of my life was just non-existent, bringing me as far down as possible. That is a mind games being played on you, and that's happening every single day. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And that's what makes you so inspiring, and I think all of our eyes, is the fact that like you did have to create that path for yourself without the support around you, and now you have the support from everybody because you're kind of like an idol in everyone's eyes. That's term of people in the radio business. So it's kind of awesome how, you know, despite all those factors, you still made it to where everybody wants to be, which kind of goes to show that, you know, the only person that limits yourself is yourself. So once you fight off that adversity, you know, you can pretty much accomplish everything. But I'm going to pass it over to my buddy Chase over here. He's going to give you the next question.
Hey, man. So, again, Josh Martinez, just thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this. But this is Chase Jefferson, a co-host of our show, Sports Outta Pocket. And me and
Chase, wait, real quick, Chase, before you get into where are you from?
Well, I'm born and raised in Georgia.
Metro Atlanta area.
Yes, sir.
You got such an accent on you, bro.
I take that as a compliment. I appreciate it.
It's not bad, I promise.
Hey, I appreciate it. So me and my partner Steven here, we also went to the host of the show, Steven.
Didn't know we were partners, Chase. All right.
It's 2024.
I met my partner on the show, man. Come on.
So did the contestants. So did the contestants on Love Is Blind.
It's all good.
I didn't know you were tight like that, man.
All right.
Anyways, we unfortunately didn't have the opportunity to attend your panel, but because Andrew and Jackson did. Because Andrew and Jackson did, they took a bunch of notes for us, and they shared basically your story and what you told them. So I do have a bunch of notes on what you said at your panel. And like Andrew said, your story is very inspiring. And I just want to know, what advice can you give us college students that are wanting to follow the career path in sports radio, sports media, broadcasting, etc.? But what kind of advice can you give us?
It's okay to work for free. Okay. I think a lot of people are losing that artistry, if you will, where it's okay to work for free because you just need to get as much experience as possible. When you're putting together a resume, no one's gonna see whether it's volunteer work or paid work.
Right.
You know, so don't be. Now, I'm not saying that you should do everything for free. You have to value yourself as well, but also be self-aware to know what your real value is, because we unfortunately tend to value ourselves maybe a little higher than we really are valued. Here's the thing. You're never as good as they say you are, but you're also never as bad as they say you are. You'll always be somewhere in the middle.
Right.
And it's the same thing. It's the same thing with your value. But I would always say, don't be afraid to work for free. Don't be afraid to take risks. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You should always want to take risks. I mean, the risk for me to go to Des Moines, Iowa, I literally went from living in New York City to moving to Des Moines, Iowa, with nothing but clothes and a WWF title, because those were my priorities to bring with me. And that's what I brought with me to Des Moines. I didn't know anybody out there. You know, I basically just had to make friends as I went along.
Right.
And that was a risk that I was willing to take. You know, people thought I was crazy because they're like, "What's in Des Moines?" And I'd be like, "I don't know, but I'll find out." So, you know, being fearless in that regard. Also, I worked overnights on Long Island in New York, but I was living on Staten Island, and I took 3 hours of public transportation each way for a 5-hour overnight shift. It cost me $41.50 to travel.
Ooh.
And I made $11 an hour. So I'd leave my house at 8:30, took every form of public trans there was in New York, and I worked from midnight to 5 a.m. and I got home at 8 a.m. And I did that because, quite honestly, I didn't have a backup plan. I knew that this was the start of my radio career. This was my first on-air job in radio, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let this go by because I don't want to travel in the middle of the night or it's too far. That wasn't an option for me.
Right. Well, I really appreciate that advice, you know, and since you complimented my accent, I'm going to compliment yours. I love y'all's New Yorker's accent, man. I envy it. I absolutely love it.
Well, let me tell you something. I just walked out of a clinic on a Saturday. I just tested positive for the flu.
Ooh.
So my energy and my voice aren't where it normally is. But, yeah, I'm trying.
Hey, I've heard clips of your podcast. I know your true New York accent. I love it.
Hey, man, get to feeling better, man. The flu's rough. That's a rough thing, man.
It is, but you know what? My mom's name is Nori, and Nori didn't raise a sucker. So
shout out to Nori, man. Shout out to Nori.
Hey, so
I'm still alive, so we're hustling, man.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm glad you mentioned your WWF title because that is a perfect segue to my partner of the show, Stephen Lambert. He has a question for you.
With the first pick in the 2023 NBA Draft, the San Antonio Spurs select.
This is the lottery. All right, so that was the first part of our Josh Martinez interview. Tune in later in the show where we're going to play the second half where, me and Josh are going to be talking about wrestling for a long time because that's what I love. All right, so we got to get into NFL free agency talk because, in my opinion, these past 2 days might be some of the craziest we've ever seen in NFL history. I don't think that's crazy to say.
No, I have never seen an NFL free agency this active as this year's in just 2 days. Like, it's actually insane.
By the way, welcome Christian to the show.
Thank you very much. It's good to be back, after a great weekend with Sports Outta Pocket and, of course, a nice W. We ate the W like Jameis Winston. So look forward to continuing that this Saturday at Lee.
All right, Christian, I actually am going to start this conversation off with you because we all know what you're going to be high on when it comes to this NFL free agency talk. Mr. Josh Jacobs coming to the Green Bay Packers.
I'm high on him. I'm not gonna lie. I was really high when I looked at my phone. I saw Aaron Jones was gone. I'm joking.
You were low because I was
if
crazy.
You saw my Instagram story. It was
They were the best running back duo in the league for a good
like an hour,
30 minutes,
an hour,
30 minutes.
But now we have the best cornerback safety duo in the league between Jair and Xavier McKinney, and I'm so happy.
One of my friends texted me that we were pursuing Xavier McKinney. I read it wrong, saying we got Xavier McKinney.
Oh yeah,
so I was really hyped.
He blew up the
Blew
group
the bag.
chat, and then all I see Green Bay Packers signing Xavier. I was heartbroken when I saw that. And then I just see Green Bay Packers signing Xavier McKinney. And
Yeah, you were talking trash to Jackson in the chat, just doing like, "How you feeling? You like that, Jackson?"
We still on you. No, it was great, but no, free agency has been crazy. I'm not gonna lie. This has got to be one of the hypest things we've seen since like the 2015 NBA when KD went and everyone was just changing teams and stuff.
Yeah.
It's insane. I mean, you guys have Kirk Cousins now. You guys.
Speaking of, you like that? Do you like that ATL?
Yeah, I do.
Kirk Cousins in the ATL, baby. It's a new quarterback. It's a new. In my opinion, it's just a new team altogether.
A
because
new chapter.
Not Matt Ryan.
Not only did we get Kirk Cousins, but something else that I'm high on with the signing is Mr. Darnell Mooney. Really? Adding to that receiving core with Mr. Darnell Mooney, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts, for a receiving core for Mr. Kirk Cousins. That is a recipe for success for this Falcons team. I'm as excited to be a Falcons fan that I have been in, I don't know, like 7 years.
Yeah.
Ever since the Super Bowl, at least.
But listen, I know you like the Kirk Cousins signing, but remember, this is a season-ending injury. He's coming off a season-ending injury. You signed him for 4 years. He's 36 years old.
35, actually.
Am I excited about how much money that we paid him? No. I mean, obviously, it's a lot of money for somebody that is 36-year-old and that you're probably only paying for the first 2 years of his career because by the time he's, 30, 38, 39, you're not going to get the same Kirk Cousins. But at the same time, it's a front-loaded contract. We're only paying him that money for the first 2 years.
$100 million is only guaranteed. So if he gets injured and that kind of screws up this process, he's only guaranteed $100 million. And I want to give a shout out to my man Daniel Karp and his crew at William Patterson University. Yep. They have a show, Afternoon Sports Drive, on Tuesdays from 4 to 5. It was an honor for me. They allowed me to go on their show yesterday to be a part of their radio show. And we kind of talked about this Kirk Cousins deal. And basically the way I look at it is there was definitely risk involved. Because yes, Kirk Cousins is 35. Yes, he has a crucial season-ending injury last season. But before he got injured, he was having an MVP caliber season. We know what the type of quarterback that Kirk Cousins can be, and unlike Ridder and Mariota that we had to deal with these past 2 seasons, having a quarterback like Kirk Cousins that kind of mirrors Matt Ryan in a way will allow us to go back to that play action, throwing the deep ball like we used to do when we were better. Because remember the type of season that Kyle Pitts had when Matt Ryan was quarterback his rookie season. Kirk Cousins can kind of bring that light back to Kyle Pitts.
And we all know what type of quarterback Kirk Cousins can be when it throws to the deep ball, because as far as the most accurate quarterback in the league, Kirk Cousins is up there.
Absolutely. He was playing like an MVP type candidate. He was a top 5 QB in the league, in my opinion, before his injury.
He was.
So we're looking at this NFL free agency, and clearly it affects the draft. A lot of speculations were, are the Falcons going to trade up, try to get Jaden Daniels, Drake May?
Not anymore.
Obviously not anymore. And I know a lot of y'all's opinions, a lot of y'all's answers on this. Who do the Falcons draft at number 8?
Dallas Turner.
That's the obvious choice now. That is the obvious choice.
Dude. You need an edge rusher. I mean, that's just it. And the funny thing is that I actually heard it was Danielle Hunter, the one that just signed with the Texans. I heard reports, and listen, it's just speculation. I heard that the Falcons actually offered him a deal, like for 3 years, but he actually decided to go with the Texans instead. Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know what the decision-making process was that. I don't know if it's because of how the money process was working, but he decided to go with the Texans, and that stinks because having him a part of that defense would have helped out a lot when it comes to getting pressure on the quarterback, because the man had 16 sacks last season.
Well, with that just shows even more that Dallas Turner is the obvious choice, because we still need that edge rusher. But while we were talking about quarterbacks, I want y'all's opinion on this. What in the world is going to happen with Justin Fields? Because we know that the Bears hold on to that number 1 pick, and Adam Schefter said that the teams that are now looking at him would be looking at him as a backup quarterback and not a starter. The reason being, because remember, the Bears with the number 1 pick, they would be crazy not to get Caleb Williams with this number 1 pick.
Right.
And the top teams that were projected to get Justin Fields, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Las Vegas, decide to go different directions. And the only remaining team now is Denver, but they don't have quite the cap space. And you're thinking Chicago's not going to get rid of Justin Barrett for basically nothing, or Justin Fields for basically nothing. And then again, will Sean Payton use a quarterback like Justin Fields? Probably not.
I feel like Justin Fields stays in Chicago. I said this like maybe a couple weeks ago. Justin Fields stays in Chicago. Trade out of that number 1 spot. I feel like the Patriots come up to number 1, trade back. Bears get Marvin Harrison Jr. That's,
okay.
It's kind of my take on it.
My take on where Justin Fields is going to go, the reason I'm looking at Christian is because I think Justin Fields is going to be the protege of Christian's favorite quarterback. That's Mr. Aaron Rodgers with the New York Jets. Whoa. I think it's a perfect combination for me. You get Justin Fields to be a backup QB to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is in what, like the last 2 years of his career? Then he's probably going to retire. Justin Fields takes over that role from Aaron Rodgers, and he's the new quarterback for the Jets. I think it's a perfect combination.
There's only a slight issue. They can't afford him. They can't afford him at all.
Yeah, I'm looking at
With all the people that they've brought in on defense and on offense, they couldn't afford him for a while. But another team that would be good if they dump this garbage man, and I know you guys will say garbage man in the trash because you don't like him so much. If they dump Derek Carr, I could absolutely see Justin Fields going to the Saints.
Honestly, if I'm thinking about it, I can see it, but I'm looking at another place in the NFC, Seattle. Geno Smith is running out of time there. And Justin Fields, honestly, I like him in Seattle. I like him in Seattle.
You know, the real quick thing about Atlanta that I mentioned in the group chat, I absolutely think that it was imperative that they got a receiver, and that's great. But they shouldn't have paid what they paid. They paid $2 million less to get Patrick Queen. Like, you pay $2 million more, and you have a game-changing linebacker. You have a top 2 linebacker in the league, top 3. That's just like one of those things to where it's like, okay, the front office knows what we need, but even if we don't need something, do we go and we make the best decision, or do we make the decision on what we need and possibly overpay to get something comparable? Because, I mean, obviously the receiver market's high. I mean, you saw what Calvin Ridley got paid, and obviously you guys didn't want to shell that out, and I don't blame you. But, hey, come on. You guys need a linebacker as well, preferably some edge. You got to do what you got to do.
I have 2 questions for the 3 of you. So, which team has had the best free agency so far, and which player had the most underrated signing? Take contract into consideration.
Best free agency is tough because everybody's been making moves. The one team that I will shout out that I think is going to have an actual big turnaround because they made the moves that I wanted them to make, and it actually kind of pains me to say it. I think it's the Steelers. The Steelers have had a really good getting Queen and getting also Russell Wilson to change that offensive up. I mean, the Steelers are looking like a really big threat in the AFC. Who knows, man? With this team, if Russell Wilson can get it going. Under Mike Tomlin, all of a sudden they might be an AFC championship threat.
Right, and I definitely agree with that. And another team that I'm very high on, a team that's not going to produce right away, but they're building something for the future, and that's a team that just made a signing a couple minutes ago, the Tennessee Titans.
Calvin Ridley and Mason Rudolph.
Yes. Hey, remember, is DeAndre Hopkins still there?
Still there, and they got Tony Pollard, a day ago, and we know how good Tony Pollard was playing backup all those years to Ezekiel Elliott on the Cowboys. This is a chance to kind of have his own team and thrive on his own.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I am high on the Pittsburgh Steelers. They bought a top 12 quarterback in the league for pennies. Let's just leave it there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
All right, so we're going to go into a quick break. When we come back, it is the second half of the Josh Martinez interview, and we are getting fired up about our March Madness brackets. Stay tuned.
What's up, guys? This is Andrew, and you are listening to Sports Outta Pocket.
Walker on first down, it's picked off! What a play!
Only on the Wolf Sports Network.
Mondays, a day filled with despair, serving to remind us of the mundane in our lives, often leaving us as though there is no escape. Until now. Now introducing the newest member of the Wolf Sports Network family, the Triple Threat Podcast, serving to fight the mundane with exciting and entertaining banter between 3 buddies. Catch it every Monday, now on Wolf Sports Network.
Hey, if y'all are on YouTube, make sure to go listen on wolfsportsnetwork.com. We're going to be playing, we're playing a song right now, Suit and Tie by Justin Timberlake and Jay-Z.
Forget Monster. Sports Pack has all the energy you need.
The path to greatness in the NFL starts in the offseason. We are officially in the offseason. It's draft season, it's trade season, it's free agency season.
I love your energy today, man.
Yes,
I'm really
Yes,
feeling
sir.
it. I'm really feeling it.
Yes, sir, Richard.
Richard's speaking facts right now. He's speaking facts. He's preaching.
What Charles Barkley say? I guarantee.
Mondays and Thursdays at 6, only on Wolf Sports Network. The Wolves play here, now in Odyssey Station.
What's going on? This is Chase, and you are listening to Sports Outta Pocket.
Let's it go! And
Only on the Wolf Sports Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're going to go straight into our second part of the Josh Martinez interview, where I talk a lot of wrestling, and he talks about some of his favorite guests that he's interviewed. So enjoy. Josh, we and you can just talk shop for hours when it comes to wrestling because, look, I know you have a history of interviewing people like Paul Heyman, Damian Priest, Cody Rhodes. I am a huge wrestling fan. I've been a huge wrestling fan since I was a kid. I think I got into wrestling back when, like, D-Generation X were doing their, like, 2006 reunion stuff, and it just made me fall in love with wrestling and everything. So I'm a huge fan of, like, AEW, WWE, so it's just really cool to talk with you.
I love that. Man, listen, that wrestling is something that has grown up with me. You know, it was a bit of an outlet. I had a very traumatic childhood, and wrestling was always there for me to kind of take my mind off of the BS that you know my father would put my family through, and it was just something that just kind of stayed with me all these years later, to the point where, you know, listen, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a very honest person. I'm in radio because I'm trying to springboard and get a job in wrestling. You know, that was always kind of the mindset, and the plan is still there. You know, I always tell people the adult goal was to be at Z100. The adult goal was Z100. The childhood dream is working for WWE. And if I work for AEW, that's cool too.
Right. No, honestly,
that's cool too.
That's really cool.
This is, I'm sorry to cut you off. This is going to sound really wild, and I have those moments where I'm like, this is wild. Like, I have Tony Khan's cell phone number, and we text.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Tony Khan?
Yeah. Like, dude, so fun little fact, he came in studio one night, and I'll try to make this quick. I know you guys are relatively pressed for time. He came into studio and hung out with me. He was supposed to do like a 15-minute interview. He got stuck in traffic. He was 2 hours late and he was like, "Hey, my schedule's clear for the night. I'll just hang out with you all night. Don't worry about it. I like to see how this is done." He's a really curious dude. He hung out with me in studio for almost 2 hours, and just to watch how I do my show. It was a Monday night because there was football on, and he's part owner of the Jags and all this other stuff. Like, we talked about everything but wrestling, and he is super down to earth, super cool. I gave him an idea to use that Wednesday night going into Grand Slam Dynamite. And as I'm telling him my idea, he takes out his phone. He goes, "I'm listening to you. I'm jotting this all down." I said, "Okay, cool." Sure enough, they opened Grand Slam Dynamite that Wednesday with my idea. Like, they opened the show with the idea that I pitched to him.
Wow.
So I waited till Thursday morning to text him, and I was like, "Dude, this is so freaking cool. Like, you don't understand, like, how dope this is." And he wrote back literally within a minute. And I know that because I took a screenshot and sent it to my buddies, right? Like, how could you not, right? Like,
how can you not?
He should stunt like that real quick.
He should give you booking credit for that.
Well, you know what's funny? On my resume, I'm gonna put freelance writer for All Elite Wrestling.
Oh yeah,
as you should.
Yeah, and just so you know, like, they were confused. They had confused looks when you said Tony Khan. This is the the owner of AEW, like the booker. Okay. He's behind everything. He's like the Vince McMahon of AEW.
See, I gotta admit, Chase and I, we didn't grow up on wrestling like Steven did, so his knowledge is a lot more up there than ours. But I can just tell off of Steven's reaction how big of a deal that was.
It's a huge deal.
So I'm proud for you, man. Absolutely.
Tony Khan owns Fulham FC, Premier Soccer Team, the Jacksonville Jaguars, All Elite Wrestling, and then actually, you guys would enjoy this as sports fans. He started, based out of Boston, an analytical company that is used by over 20 MLB teams.
Oh wow! Okay.
Wow. So a lot of people don't know this, but Billy Beane of the Oakland A's, and we've probably all seen Moneyball.
Right. Right.
So Billy Beane gets credit for like the analytical stuff, but Billy Beane was more focusing the shift on numbers, whereas Tony Khan just kind of at his company just dove into all sorts of different types of numbers that essentially changed the way MLB looks at it. Wow. And it's interesting because he looked at me with a smirk on his face and he said, "There's a certain team that doesn't use my company, but you know what? They're not winning World Series."
Yeah.
and I have a Yankees logo tattooed on my arm, and he knows I'm a diehard Yankees fan, and the Yankees have their own analytical department. I want to say they might be the only team in Major League Baseball with their own fully staffed analytical department. So it was a cute little jab by him, and hopefully he's wrong.
I mean,
hey,
who knows?
With Juan Soto in y'all's lineup now, you never know the possibilities, man.
But Josh, I wanted to get into this, my quick question, and it's wrestling related. Big shocker. The biggest thing that's honestly been trending with wrestling in the last few weeks, it was number one on Twitter for a long time.
It's
X, Twitter, X. I cannot keep up with it. It's Twitter to me, always will be. But it was the Cody Rhodes and The Rock situation when it came to WrestleMania. So I wanted to know, what was your reaction on that infamous SmackDown episode when Cody said to Roman that, "I'm not going to face you at WrestleMania." The Rock's music hits, comes down there, shakes Roman's hand, and looks like it was going to be them at WrestleMania instead of Cody finishing his story.
So my favorite wrestler of all time, my top three, The Rock's on that list. I was a huge Rock fan at his peak. I preferred Rock over Austin. That's just Rock was always my guy. And despite that, and despite the Roman Rock dream match that we all wanted the last few years, even I knew this wasn't it. This wasn't the time for it. And I got to give The Rock credit, and I got to give everybody involved in WWE credit. They immediately pivoted. 6 days later, shot a completely different angle the weekend of the Super Bowl in the same city as the Super Bowl in Vegas, because they knew it would get everybody talking. So kudos to them, because knowing the history of the WWE prior, Vince McMahon, very stubborn historically, would have probably not changed things. But with the new regime in place and The Rock being very self-aware, The Rock doesn't want to look like a bad person. So if he has to play a heel for 6 weeks and then turn on Roman to go babyface, the Friday after WrestleMania, that's the best thing. You know what I'm saying? So while I understood why it was happening, It was immediately. I just thought, this ain't it, dog. You have told us for the last year it's Cody's story, Cody's story, and then it looks like, to the fans, this guy's just gonna waltz in because there was a SAG strike and he's not part of the TKO board and he has free time. So all right, go main event the biggest WrestleMania ever. That's not cool. Nobody wants to be passed up,
Right. Yeah, no, your point exactly. I'm so happy that they pivoted because it was Cody's time last year, and then they pulled that swerve with Solo Sikoa and all that stuff. And if they don't finish the story this year, like, I don't know what else you can do. It's Cody's time. I want him to win the world championship, and I'm glad that it looks like that's the direction they're going in.
I agree. I think that if he doesn't do it at WrestleMania, by the time he does it, it's a little too late. The WWE has had a significant issue prior to the new regime, so I will say that.
Yes.
Building baby faces. They, aside from John Cena, who arguably peaked in 2012?
Super Cena.
They haven't had that star. So when you think of it in terms of that, now you got Cody. Now you have Seth Rollins.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have, in my opinion, I think it takes one match or one program, and Drew McIntyre could be back up there.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone's enjoying his work, and I think that everything he's saying is true. What makes an effective heel, an effective bad guy, is when they're saying the truth, but people don't want to admit it.
Absolutely.
And I think that Drew McIntyre has been killing it in that regard.
All right, so we are running against the time here. Jackson wanted to ask you one more question before we wrap this up.
So we've got to interview some pretty amazing people. You, Philly sports guy, an MLB pitcher named Justin Masterson. So I was wondering, do you have a personal favorite interviewee that y'all have gotten the chance to interview?
Wow. That's a good question. I almost cursed. You know how hard it is? That's a good question. Okay, so I'm going to give you two different answers. One would be a singer by the name of JoJo. And she was big before you guys were even born. I feel so old saying that.
It's just a little too
but
late.
I like.
It's just
Yes. I fell in love with her. I fell in love with her when I was like 15. Been a fan of hers or whatever. I'm not like a psycho or weirdo or anything like that, but I've been a fan of her for all these years. And she came in studio over the summer.
Oh,
and I always said that there were three people I always wanted to interview. Jay-Z, JT, Justin Timberlake, Jay-Z, JT, and JoJo. And I got to JoJo this summer, and it was like 20 minutes of just one big flirt session. And you know what? She was going with it, baby. So I felt good.
Hey, good for you. There you go, man. That's a win.
And I would say the second interview I did, one of my favorites, I would say I did one with oh, wow. So within the same week, I did one with Seth Rollins and I did one with CM Punk while CM Punk was in AEW. And they both ended up going viral in this, like, within a week or two apart, which really put me on the map in the internet wrestling community as someone who, asks really good questions because I'm not asking the most obvious questions. I think the most important thing when interviewing people is to just make it sound like a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Not be too formulaic with the questions, not ask the obvious stuff. So for me, knowing that I was just basically hanging out with Seth Rollins or hanging out with CM Punk, that approach was basically shown, given they opened up to me. I didn't ask them any gotcha questions. They each opened up to me about different things and ended up going viral. Fox Sports picked up on my stories. A lot of Fightful picked up on my stories. A lot of reputable sites, which kind of put me in that little echelon of when he does interviews, people will kind of pick up on it. Although my biggest frustration is people just read about it or watch the clips. They don't go on YouTube to watch the full interview, and that annoys me, but I digress.
I mean, hey, like I'm just saying, if I ever had the opportunity to interview those people, I know I'm not big into wrestling, but just assuming, like, I know the names, that just kind of goes to show, like, even though I'm not big into wrestling, I still recognize the names. So I don't know. I feel like you definitely got to flaunt that a little bit, like.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't blame you at all, and I definitely want people to go watch my interview. So I definitely understand that aggravation.
Yeah, it just gets frustrating because you put in this work and the numbers aren't there. But that's another thing that I know you guys got to wrap up, but don't let the numbers dictate your work.
Right.
Keep pushing. It takes one video, it takes one clip, it takes one interview to change your life. I had a Cody Rhodes snippet go viral on TikTok and Instagram because nobody even knew that he was half Cuban, and that popped off.
Wow.
To the point where he talked about it. Which, by the way, there are Cubans in Atlanta. You know.
I just found that out now. That's actually insane.
New to me.
Josh, thank you so much for taking your time out of your day, and obviously with your sickness, with the flu, taking the time out of your day to do an interview with us. We appreciate it so much, man.
Absolutely, man. Awesome
Thank you so
conversation.
much.
Awesome conversation.
It's an honor to have you on our show.
Nah, it's all good, and I mean this when I say it. You guys ever get stuck with guests and you need somebody, feel free to hit me up. I'm always going to be available for you guys. Even as you go on in your career, if you end up, hopefully you guys do this as a career, you need somebody or you need fingers pointed in the right direction. You guys let me know. You need any tips, advice, you let me know. You need me to connect you with people, you guys let me know. You guys are awesome. This is my version of the Jordan flu game, though, so we out.
And you killed it.
Yes, sir.
And you killed it.
Thank you to Josh Martinez for taking the time out of his very busy schedule to do an interview with us. He didn't have to, but he did, and it was just incredible getting to talk with him. And just somebody that we get to have a connection with now for years to come. So just thank you so much, Josh. You're awesome, man. Awesome to talk to you.
Really cool to talk to you. Absolutely.
All right, so it was amazing, and it was just an amazing time and an amazing feeling to get to talk with Josh Martinez. But you know what's going to feel even better in my heart, in my soul?
Steven, can there be anything better?
What is that?
Wolfstock.
Wolfstock. Wolfstock. Wolfstock. Wolfstock.
Wolfstock 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the hottest concert that ever hit West Georgia to make its return? Wolf Radio has got you covered with Wolfstock 2024. Unleash the wolf from within on Thursday, April 4th, 2024 at 6 to 9 p.m. There will be music, food, games, and more in the Campus Center Ballroom. Do not miss out on UWG's own finest performers. Dark Souls Thug, Jay Pruitt, Kamal Sassier, Collar, Lumina, and XO. It's amazing. It's an amazing time with amazing people. Hey. Come out and let's have some fun. Wolfstock 2024 is brought to you by Dine West, Housing and Residence Life, Center for Student Involvement and Inclusion, American Pie Pizzeria, and Illuminated Productions, plus Osier Apparel. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to get fired up about March Madness.
I am having a very bad day. I am in no mood. This is one of the worst days that I've had in a long time.
Fire me up.
Colgate, 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 Colgate. Chase, why are we chanting Colgate?
You know why? You know why you're chanting Colgate? Because I wanted to take a little risk. Really? I wanted to take a little trip on the risky boat, and I went with the Colgate. I don't even know what their team names are. Does it matter? But,
and that risky boat ended up like the Titanic, buddy.
Hey, let me defend my...
And it just sunk your
let
career.
me defend myself. Colgate, they were the 15th seed. I went with them. They lost by 20 to Texas. But here's the thing. A couple years ago, who would have thought Loyola Chicago was going to the Final Four?
Or
Last year. Yeah, or
St.
Roberts.
Peter's.
Last year, who would have thought Miami was going to the Final Four? But you know what I didn't realize that I should have realized?
Chase, where did that get you?
It got you a pie in the face.
A very painful pie in the face, I might add.
Do you know it's like Mike Tyson, bro. They call me Mike Tyson with a pie.
Do you know what my problem was? Do you know what I didn't realize?
What?
You know what Colgate didn't have that Loyola Chicago did?
What?
Sister Jean. And guess who's still alive? Sister Jean. So guess who's making a dance during the tournament? Loyola Chicago,
no,
baby.
They're not.
Are they even in the running? Are they even in the running?
Richard, if you're listening...
This is your pick.
I'm not letting you down.
Is Richard going to come out?
I'm not letting you down, Sir Richard Reed. Hey, are they in the contention? Are they in contention? Did you not just hear me? Sister Jean is alive and well. Loyola Chicago's 23-8. They're first in the elite. Doesn't matter.
She's a fossil, dude.
She's breathing.
You breathe on her and
now,
she falls.
Just like
Gavin, Gavin, I know you're listening. You've been in the chat a little bit. Gavin, I'm going to do my best to make you proud. I know you didn't have to pick me. You picked me. So I'm going to do my studying. I'm going to look at these games and look at these teams and see which is going to be the best picks for this bracket. I promise you, I'm not going to let you down.
Hey, guess who picked me? The sports director, the host.
Guess who was a team captain? I was, because I finished in the top 3 last year, baby. I have a bronze medal to prove it. I should have wore it. I should have wore it here, man.
Guy? Hey, Hey,
I had the triple threat crew. What are you dissing me for, man?
You got Schrader, but
hold up. Let's let Steven get to his point. Come on, Steven.
What's my point? I don't know my point.
Well, I got a point. I got a point. Let me tell you, man. You want to talk about teams that can make a run for the March Madness tournament, man? Well, I got two in particular. Let me go and start with the obvious one. You got the number one team, Houston Cougars. Now listen, man.
Houston Cougars.
They lead the country in defensive efficiency. They dominate the battle for possessions, and they are 8th nationally
Did you get this
ranked.
off a website?
He did.
He's plagiarizing.
Plagiarizing. How's it plagiarizing if it's stats?
Oh, man.
They're 8th in the country nationally when it comes to offensive turnover rate and 2nd in defensive ratings. Now, it's obvious that Houston, they're the best team in the Big 12, man. I don't care about your Kansas Jayhawks. Jayhawks ain't dancing this year, man. They've got injuries left and right. I am pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, let me flip my page here. Let's see. Hunter Dickinson and then Kevin McClure, they're not playing in the Big 12 tournament, man. They're going to be rested because they're pretty much already locked for the NCAA tournament. I understand that. So, yeah, rest your top scorers so in case they get injured even more, you're not screwed entirely. But still, Kansas Jayhawks, man.
Andrew, I'm not trying to hear this Kansas banter. Kansas are going to make it, baby. I'm ready for it. Let's go, Kansas. They're going to make a run in this tournament.
Hold on. You do understand that they're coming into the tournament with an 8-point loss to BYU at home and then an 8-point loss to Baylor, man? This is the lowest.
This is tournament play.
You know what's different about this Jayhawk team? This is the lowest they've been ranked headed into the tournament since the 28-year Big 12 tournament has been around.
Have you not learned anything? The team that makes it to the Final Four are not these top big dogs. They're the teams that are sleeping underneath. You got to dig a little deep. You got to look at the Clips and Tigers, baby.
Hey, do you know a team that I am high on? I may be a little biased.
Don't you dare say Kentucky.
Kentucky Wildcats.
Get out of here with
first team SEC.
Jackson,
Antonio Reeves. We got Justin Edwards. DJ Wagner. We got Reed Shepard.
Every time I watch
the pick, Rob Dillingham.
Hey, Jackson, every time I watch the Kentucky Wildcats, y'all give up 90-plus points like every 3 games. That's not good defense.
Are you kidding me?
You can't defend that against the top 64 teams.
We really have to wrap this up because we are stretched out on time.
Unfortunately.
I just got one more thing to say. You better watch out for this SEC because Alabama might make a run too.
What about the Florida State Seminoles?
Alabama by 22 points.
Guess who beat Virginia Tech
today? Do it in the tournament.
Guess who beat Virginia Tech today?
Go Noles, baby. Jameer Watkins, 34 points. Shout out to you, buddy.
With that being said, March Madness is going to be crazy. Next Tuesday, we're all going to be glued to the screen and making sure, hoping our teams are going to do what we want them to do. So that's it for Sports Outta Pocket tonight. Make sure you all are tuning into Sports Pack tomorrow from 6 to 7. And also, make sure you all are tuning into Triple Threat, the podcast with Cole Fisher. It is up, ladies and gentlemen, and it is amazing interviews to tune into that.
Monday.
With all that being said, we will see you all next week.
Adios.
Mwah.